You and the Law, the trusted legal enlightenment program on OGTV, where we simplify legal issues and empower citizens with their knowledge of their rights and responsibilities. My name is Morenikeji Shobalaji. Today we'll be discussing a subject that affects millions of Nigerians. Tenancy right, is it? And whether you are a landlord, tenant, caretaker, or prospective renter, understanding your legal rights and obligations can save you from unnecessary disputes and financial losses. And that is why today on You and the Law, we will be looking at what it means and what does the law say about rent increases. Can a landlord evict a tenant without notice? What are the responsibilities of both parties? These are many more the questions we will be addressing today. I want to welcome you again to You and the Law. And of course, to guide us through this important discussion is an experienced legal practitioner, Barrister Ellen Adedoye. This is definitely not our first time on the show. Barrister Ellen Adedoye, where he has always been here, to give us a legal understanding of every subject matter that concerns everybody. Yes, I want to welcome to the studio today, Madam, our legal luminary, what do I call you? Good evening, nice having you on the studio.
Good evening, it's a pleasure being on this program today to discuss this important topic.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, let's begin. I want to talk about, tenancy rights is what we're looking at today. So what exactly are tenancy rights and why should every Nigerian understand them?
According to the laws guiding us in the society, we have the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and regarding rents in Ogun State, we have certain laws guiding us as well. So both landlords and tenants have their rights because the law is meant to protect both landlords and the tenants, and not just the tenant or just the landlord. The law is not biased. So as a result of that, there are certain rights for the landlords and other rights for the tenants as well.
Okay, let's look at, starting from tenancy agreements. You have said that there are a lot of rights. It's not limited to the tenant alone. It also covers the landlord. Yes, law is not biased. But, the tenancy agreement, is it compulsory for every tenancy, for every tenant to actually go through this every time you want to get an apartment and you were expected to have this arrangement of, tenancy agreement and all of that. So to be backed by written documents, do you think it is compulsory for any person or tenant to have this agreement, all this understanding backed by written agreement? Is it compulsory?
Well, it is not compulsory. It is not compulsory, but it is advisable to have a written agreement guiding the relationship between a landlord and the tenant. It is not compulsory. When there is no written agreement between the landlord and the tenant, the law will take force.
Okay.
But it is always advisable, just like I said. So they both they mutually agree to the terms of the agreement binding them.
Okay. And what somebody was saying that what are the clauses? I was discussing with someone and the person was kind of showing lack of understanding of all of these things, and he said, okay, if at this time I am also meant to go through this and I have to get a tenancy the agreement done in a written document, so what clauses should every tenancy agreement contain? The right of tenants, what are the fundamental rights of every tenant?
The tenant has, first, he has the right to quiet possession and quiet enjoyment of the premises within the specified time for the agreement. We have yearly tenants, quarterly tenants, even monthly tenants. So if it's a yearly tenant, for the period of that 1 year, the tenant has the right to have a quiet possession and quiet enjoyment of the premises, which means a landlord cannot just barge into the house while the tenant is occupying without a reasonable notice.
Okay.
So a tenant has that right. He also has the right to even pay his rent as and when due. He has to pay the rent as and when due, because when it is due, it becomes a tenant at will. So to retain the status of being a tenant and to enjoy the right, he has to pay the rent as and when due, and he has the duty to maintain the property as well, the property which he occupies at that moment.
Okay.
And also he also has the right not to be evicted illegally. A tenant is also protected by the law. He cannot just be evicted illegally, maybe through self-help or
Okay, I was coming there now. You were saying something about, the right of tenants now. Yes, we're still going to talk about the right of landlords too. But, there are cases when I've seen people talking about the fact that you're going to pay a certain fee. They call it a damage fee or something. Some landlord will tell you that this fee is refundable, and maybe if at the end of the day, because from where you stopped now, you're talking about the fact that tenants must also always maintain, the property and make sure that they are all the property is always in good condition, even at the time you want to leave. You are not destroying anything and all of that. So most landlords then will now say that, okay, you must pay certain amount of money. Maybe at the time of taking the apartment, you will pay certain, or maybe it may be a shop, it may be anything. So you are going to pay certain amount. Some would say it's not refundable, and some would say that they are going to give it to you back if you did not destroy anything in that apartment. Is this also legal?
Well, caution fee, like you rightly said, is not illegal, because it all, just like I said, depends on the agreement guiding the relationship. Because all these fees has to be stated, has to be stipulated in the agreement that, okay, by the end of this tenancy, this fee is refundable. And generally the landlord is responsible for the for structural repair of the apartment.
Okay.
He is responsible for that. So except these damages were caused by the tenant, maybe by his negligence, for example, causing fire, or maybe bringing down the roof. When a tenant does that, he is automatically responsible for that. But if that happens without the tenant being at fault, the landlord is responsible for the repair. So the caution fee, these landlords just they tend to collect this to protect themselves. Well, it is always included in the tenancy agreement as well, to protect themselves in case things like that occur. So if something like that doesn't occur, and as long as it is already stipulated in the agreement, the tenant has the right to be refunded the amount that has been paid.
That is why it is always good to make sure that all that you have as an agreement must be a written document, so that at the end of the day, nobody will not say that, oh, you did not give me that caution fee, or I'm not refunding. It must be in the agreement.
Exactly. That was why I said it is advisable the other time. When you don't have it written, the law will take force.
Okay, you said something about landlord being responsible for some repairs in any apartment or any property, but we've seen cases about you are the occupant of the building where there is provision of borehole water, and at some point you use your own meter, your prepaid meter is what you have on your prepaid meter that you use to pump water anytime you need that water. Is it not supposed to be the duty of the landlord to pump water for you, or you are also, because you are the one that is using the water? What do you think in that direction?
The tenant should be responsible for that.
Okay.
Because that is part of the day-to-day use of the landlord is responsible for providing a structure that is fit and inhabitable, to be occupied by the tenant. So that's why the tenant has to maintain it and deliver it in a good state as well. But you see all these pumping water, it is part of it's just like you being in there. Will you go and tell the tenant that, okay, come and fill my gas, I'm using my gas in your house at this time? You need water. Then except there is an agreement as to that.
Okay.
Because I think some people collect, for example, charges. I mean, what is it called? Fees from people maintaining
yes,
the
maintenance
compound.
charges, the compound.
Yes, you know, when you already
security.
yes. So when you agree to that and you have paid it up, you have no business paying for that again. But when you have not done that, it is, you know,
the tenant's responsibility.
You have to do that because you have not put that in place and you have already agreed. Maybe it's part of the agreement. But you see, for pumping water, it is part of the day-to-day use that has to be.
Okay, under what circumstances you have explained before, but then can a tenant be, you know, held liable for damages, you know, rent and kind of charges? Is it possible? At what point do you think maybe it can become legal matter when a tenant is, you know, causes a kind of damage? At what point do you think it becomes
just like I said, you know, a major structural repair or changes made to another person's house is not legal.
Okay.
You know, just like changing the roof without, you know, it is a different case if you put the landlord on notice that I want to do this and he gives you the go ahead. You know, that one it's quite different. But causing a major structural change, or even if it is a damage caused by the tenant, it is liable. Is liable to repair such.
Okay, so if at the end
but you know, minor repairs, maybe change of bulb, socket, all those, you know, maybe, you know, normal wear and tear, the tenant is supposed to do that.
This is popular among, you know, housing, this caretakers or housing agents. If you have ever been, you know, in that situation before, you know, they come and say that these arbitrary fees that we hear lately, the house itself, the apartment itself you want to rent might be 500,000, but there is something they call total package. Okay. So they will not tell you that total package is 800,000 naira. So you will not begin to ask a question that, okay, give me the breakdown of the additional 300,000 because the house itself is 500,000 and I'm paying 800,000. Give me the breakdown. I begin to hear inspection fee. We begin to hear agency fee, caution fee, agreement fee, and all of that. So all of these things, will you say it is legal to you know, for any person or to come out and say that, okay, to subject, yes, to subject maybe tenants or somebody that needs a house to all of these things?
The all these fees I just mentioned, they are not entirely unlawful, depending on the circumstances surrounding the collection of it. What I mean is, you know, some landlords even collect legal fees, agents, they collect everything. So what is more important is that this fee, what is it meant for? You know, getting to know what this fee is meant for, and if it is being used for that. When you say you are collecting agreement, a lot of tenants, they pay for agreement, they don't even get to have any agreement, any form of written agreement with the tenant, but the landlord will collect it, or whoever is in charge. Agents may collect inspection fee. They just, like, if it is not arbitrary, just like you said, you know, when you collect it for a specific purpose and it's being, you know, people have to get paid for the service they render. So as an agent, if an agent says, oh, for me to for you to come and inspect this thing, this is, and you agree to it, it is already an agreement between the prospective tenant and the agent, then he has to pay. But you know, it doesn't have to be arbitrary and not collecting the fees that are not meant to collect. Yes, you know, because for example, legal fees are meant to be collected by lawyers because they are the ones that will be responsible for the agreement. Or even if the tenant, the landlord is going to give it to his lawyer to carry on with the work has to be done.
Wow, this is so interesting, and of course, you know, the essence of the program is just to let people learn and understand their rights better. And our time is, you know, kind of fast the program today. But before I go, you know, let's talk about eviction. Yes, okay. We are coming to the end of the program, but before we round up on the show, in just a few seconds now, can landlord, you know, lock out tenants or remove their belongings without, you know, following the necessary legal procedures? Because some people, you know, we have seen cases that you say that, oh, I am going through this, my landlord threw me out, my belongings have been thrown outside, or, you know, is it possible?
A landlord is not empowered to do that. Any landlord, whoever, if a tenant is owing rent, even if the tenant is already owing rent, or if you want to evict any tenant from you must follow the due process of law, which start from issuing the appropriate notices depending on the kind of tenancy that it is. If it is a yearly tenant, we already know, okay, this person is entitled to certain number of months, like 6 months for a yearly tenant. So you know how that you should not just issue notice. It must be, because by the time you get to court, the court will determine or ascertain if it is appropriate, if it is adequate. You have to issue adequate notice before the court will hold that, okay, this person has a case to answer. You have a case against these tenants already. But when all the due process has not been followed, the necessary things have not been put in place, then it is illegal. Pulling down the roof, doing all those things is regarded. We regard all those things as self-help. That is resorting to self-help, and that is illegal.
Thank you so much, Barrister Adedoyin. It's nice having you on the program today, and we hope that people have been able to, learn one or two things from all that we have discussed here today. Tenancy rights affect you, affect me, affect everybody. So thank you for sharing your legal expertise with us today.
Yes,
thank you. We believe our viewers are now better informed about their rights and responsibilities as tenants and landlords. And to our viewers, remember that ignorance of the law is never an excuse. Knowing your rights is important, but respecting the rights of others is equally essential for peaceful coexistence. Thank you for staying with us on OGTV on You and the Law. Join us again next time for another enlightening discussion. My name is Moreni Keji Shobaloju. Until then, stay pleasant with people and be law abiding.